Hi everyone, and welcome to my flame nail art workshop. In this workshop I'm going to show you different techniques to create flame designs on your clients' nails. So let's get started. Welcome to my flames workshop. So I am going to show you how to create these 3 flame designs. So this one is using pigment powders and the black flame, and then we have used the pigment powders to create like a glowing flame, and this one to create an ombre 3D flame. So I'm going to pop those to one side. And I'm just going to show you that I have prepared all 3 of my nails already. So this one I have used the Nailchemy Saltstone, which is a white. I haven't wiped off the inhibition layer, so obviously if we were doing these on clients, we would be doing the base coat and then 2 coats of our gel polish. This middle nail I have used 2 coats of the Onyx, again from Nailchemy, and this nail I have used the Lilac Violet colour as my base, and then I have done an ombre with dragon fruit and papaya. So in order to create that ombre, I have done an ombre workshop which you guys can see over on my YouTube channel. So I have not wiped off the inhibition layer. This is just the gel polish with the inhibition layer still on it, but on this one I have Velvet Matte top coated the nail because I want the flames to be shiny but the back and the base to be matte. So the first thing I'm going to do is my black flame on the orange and yellow background. Okay, so like I've just said, I haven't wiped off the inhibition layer on this gel polish because I want to put my pigment powders into it. So again, these pigment powders are from Nailchemy. So I've got the neon orange, the light neon orange, and the neon yellow. Okay, so I'm just going to take my lids off, and I normally work from the residue that is in the lid rather than from the pot, but if there's not enough residue in the lid, then I may need to go into my pot. So to do this, I'm going to use a sponge applicator. This actually comes with the neon pigment powders, and I want to go from dark down into my yellow. So the first one I'm going to use is my neon, I say dark orange, it's really not that dark, but compared to this one it is. And I'm going to push that into that inhibition layer of my white gel polish, and that's why I've used white, because it really makes the neon pigments pop. Now you don't have to do this with neon pigments, you can do it with gel polish, but it would obviously mean that you would need to do that ombre with your gel polish colours. So in the area that I want it to blend, I'm just slightly overlapping it and then going down into that middle section, and then I'm using a clean applicator for each pigment powder. So the reason I'm doing quite a lot of yellow is because obviously the black of the flames is going to come down to here, and we don't want to cover too much of that yellow up. So I'm bringing the yellow up a little bit higher than the other 2 colours. And I'm just going to start to blend that slightly. So I'm just going to come in and soften that line there. And also with my dark orange into my lighter orange as well. And just bring that down. So I'm just going to use a soft brush just to take off any excess. and I am going to matte top coat this. So this is the Velvet Matte from Nalchemy. It's a no wipe matte top coat, so it's perfect for when you're working on clients' nails because it's really quick, you don't have to wipe it over. So I'm making sure that I'm covering the entirety of the nail because we don't want to come to do our artwork and then that pigment powder to be removed. So I'm just going to pop my lids back on my pigment powders and I'm going to move on to my Neon Flame. So for this I am using the Nalchemy Artisan Painting Gel in white, and I have already decanted a little bit of that onto my palette, and I'm using my Phantom brush from Crystal Nails, and also I'm going to be using my Nalchemy Ultrafine 000 brush. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is pop in the curve of my flame. So I'm going to put in this area here first. Okay, so on this one I've got 2 of those, so I'm just going to place those in first. So I'm going to go in to my Artisan White, just removing any fluff that's on top of that nail, and I'm just going to create like an upside down C with that paint. Okay, and at this stage that's all you need to do. Alright, and now I know I want another flame here, so I'm going to do exactly the same and do an upside down C. And all you're concentrating on at this point is getting that curve nice and rounded. Now what I'm going to do is I want this to be quite bulbous and then taper down. So I'm going to elongate that C and then bring that in. So again, fattening out that C, elongating it slightly and bringing it in, and then I'm just going to fill in that space that we've created there. I'm going to do exactly the same for this one. So again, fatten out that C to create the base of our flame, or the center point of our flame, and then bring it in. So those are our 2 main flames, and then what I'm going to do is again create a curve coming from that, and then I'm just going to create a flame coming off slightly of the nail. Again, creating a curve and then going up, which is just going to be a point. We're going to elongate our points in a second, and then we need to marry this point and our flame up. So again, just creating a curve, and then I want another flame just here, again coming off of the nail slightly. Okay, so while I'm here, I'm just going to fill in this area. So this is why the Artisan paints are really good, because as you can see, I'm using a white on top of a black. Now if this was normal gel polish, you wouldn't have that pigment to be able to cover the black in one coat with a white. So I'm just making sure I'm taking that right to the edge of the nail. We don't want any dark areas because it will show up when we come to do our pigments in this. So I've just done a really nice thin coat, but you can see that that has got full coverage on top of that black. Now what I'm going to use is my ultra fine 000. I'm going to fully and evenly load up that brush, and I'm going to start putting the points of my flame in. So I'm not using a lot of that artisan paint because we've got enough product here to be able to drag that up into the tip of our flame. Just making sure that that's nice and curved, and this is where we create the movement in our flames as well. So again, letting the brush do the work for me, tapering it out into a really nice fine tip of that flame. Okay, I'm just going to finish off this, which is just a point, but again creating that movement, and doing the same for this lower flame as what we did on the higher flame, tapering out the point of our flames. Now normally the artisan gel paints are 60-second cure. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to want to press my pigment powders into this. So instead of a full cure, I'm going to do a little bit more than a flash cure, and I'm going to cure it for 20 seconds. So that's going to go in the lamp for 20 seconds. So while that's in the lamp, I am using my artisan black gel paint, okay, to create the black flames on my orange nail. So I'm just going to clean off my brushes from that white, and to do that I'm just using a little bit of gel residue wipe off solution on a lint free pad, and I'm going to do exactly the same as what I did with my white. So I'm going to go in with my phantom brush and create an upside down C just there, and then I want one slightly higher again. And now I'm just going to fatten out that C underneath. And the same for the top one. And then I'm going to bring that down and taper it almost like a wine glass shape. And then I'm going to do exactly the same for this one. And then I'm going to do a really tiny one here, just to show you guys what the small ones look like. Now I'm going to start to marry this up. And create my curves to join my flames. Now you don't want this to be too even, so this one's slightly higher than this one. You want to create movement in this design. Okay, so exactly the same as the white, I'm just going to fill in this area. Now, especially because we're using a dark pigment here, you don't want it to be too thick, you don't want it to start to wrinkle. So I'm just going to fill in this area here with my black artisan, and again you can see the coverage. One coat is ample. You also need to make sure that you cap the end because you don't want that pigment powder to be showing on the tip of the nail. So now I've done that, I'm just going to go in with my 000 and I'm going to elongate the points to my flame. And like I said before, there's enough product here to be able to just carry that out into the tip of the flame. So when you're doing flames, you need to think about where you're placing the base of the flame and how long you want these tips to be in accordance with the length of the nail. Okay, and that's going to go in for a full cure for 60 seconds. So now what I want to do is press my pigment powders into my white flame. So I'm going to use the yellow because I want this to glow slightly, and I'm going to use the neon green. Okay. So again, using my sponge applicator, I'm going to go in with the yellow first and just a tiny little bit on the tip, and I'm going to go round the edge of my flames. So I'm going to go in, and you can see it's just a couple of millimeters into the edge. Obviously it's going to be the whole of the tip coming down, just using the very tip of that applicator because we don't want the yellow to be in the main part of the flame. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with my green. So I'm going to start off on the base because that's going to be solid green, and then tap it up over the whole of the flame, because it's not going to be too dark in the area that we have done the yellow. And now I'm just going to slightly dust that off. Don't worry about the area of the black. And I'm going to pop that in for a full cure. So my dark flame now has now come out of the lamp, and I want to make this one shiny. So I'm going to use the No Wipe top coat and cover the entirety of that nail. Make sure you cap the end as well. And I'm going to pop that in for a full cure. So while we're waiting for that to cure, I'm going to move on to my third nail. So this one, like I've said before, I've created the ombre already. I have done a video previously on how to create an ombre. So I want the pink area to be solid. So I've left, it's quite a messy line, but it really doesn't matter because we're gonna now go in and paint our flames. So this one's going to be a 3D flame, so it's going to be quite a large one. So the actual flame is going to be quite large to create that 3D effect. So again, like my other flames, I'm creating that upside down C and just taking it and fattening it out slightly and then tapering it in and out. So we've got that wine glass shape. Okay. And then I want a larger flame coming up here. And I'm going to create that round base and just pat that out into that ombre that I've created. And again, I want another flame here. Okay. And again, creating that curve in the joining of the flame. Now what I'm going to do, like the others, I'm going to go in with my 000 and I'm going to elongate that main flame in the centre. Again, pulling that product up from that main bulk of colour. And creating movement in that flame. I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. I'll make this one slightly lower. And just making sure that those edges are nice and crisp and that curve is nicely rounded. Okay, so I'm gonna just go in and taper out that join, and then I'm going to pop that in for a full cure. So that is our black flame on our orange and yellow background, and that is that nail complete. So I'm just going to pop that to one side so I can show you guys at the end. So now with this neon flame, I'm going to actually go over with a stiff nail brush. So this is my stiff nail brush. It's actually a Bruz brush, but you can use like a nail cleaning brush as well, but you need something that's really quite stiff. So I'm just going to go over that nail, and what this is going to do is it's going to remove the excess of that pigment powder on that black area, but because we've now fully cured the white, it's going to stay in that artisan. So you need to remove that as much as you possibly can. If there is still a little bit of a glow to the nail, you can go in with a little bit of gel wipe off solution on your silicone tool, but a stiff brush should do the job for you. So I'm just going to clean off my 000, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go into my white artisan again. I'm going to fully load up that brush, and I'm going to outline my flames, and this helps to create the glow. So I'm just literally going to do a really thin line around my flames and tapering that up into nothing almost. So I'm going to go all the way around that flame with that white artisan. So when you're doing curves, do them in small parts. Don't try and do them in one go. Tapering that up, letting the brush, I'm almost laying the brush down onto the nail. in that curve. And it's a really good idea. I could turn this tip round and do it this way, but you need to learn to be able to work back on yourself and hold your brush in a way as if you were doing a client's nail, because as handy as it is to turn the tip, when we're doing clients, it's not so easy to turn their hand round this way. So I'm just taking that down, again doing that curve, pulling that product up into almost nothing, but it really does make a difference to create that glow. You can see the difference between those two flames there, how this one's glowing more than this one. So using my brush to create that curve. If you go wrong, you can remove this with a little bit of gel wipe off solution and just be really careful. Going around the belly of that flame. Creating that curve. Now this is what's really lovely about using the artisans, because I'm confident in this flame that we did earlier, that white line is going to stay where we put it. If we were doing this with a normal gel polish, it would be bleeding everywhere, and we don't want that to happen. We want these lines to stay nice and crisp. So I've just got the tiniest little bit there on that black, which I just want to remove. So I'm going in with my phantom brush with a little bit of gel wipe off solution, and that removes it really well. So just finishing off this flame, again going up into nothing, creating the belly, the curve at the base, and then finally going up, tapering out that last flame. Okay, so now I'm going to pop that in for a full cure of 60 seconds. So while I've been doing that, this one has fully cured, and I'm just going to go into my dragon fruit. And what I want to do, I've got a little bit of patchiness here and here, so I just want to sort that out just with a really thin coat of that dragon fruit. The rest of the design doesn't need it, but it was just that area that needed it. Okay, and I'm going to pop that in the lamp again for a full cure, which for the normal gel polishes is 30 seconds. So I've already prepared my black artisan gel paint, so I'll just show you that again. That's what I'm going to be using to create a 3D effect on my flame, on my pink flame. Okay, so my pink flame has now had a full cure, and we are now going to make this 3D. So what you need to remember when we're doing 3D work is to always work on the left hand side of the area that you're painting. So for example, this part of the flame, when we're working on this, we want to work on the left hand side of it. okay, not this side, which is the right hand side. We want to work on the left hand side, and as soon as that starts to become the right hand side of this area, we need to stop. So if I show you on here, I've done my black line on the left hand side, but as soon as it starts to go up into the right hand side, you need to stop, okay, and that works for each element of the design. So I'm just going to go into my black artisan with my 000, and I'm going to work on the left hand side of this part of the flame. So I'm just going to take that up to the tip of the flame, again following the movement that we've created before, and now I'm going to take it down. So this area here needs sharpening up slightly, so that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to bring that round into my curve, and as soon as it starts to hit the right hand side, I'm going to stop. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that that's nice and crisp. Okay, now again, this is the joy of working with artisans, because I know that's going to stay where I've just put it. So I'm going to do this flame now, and again working on the left hand side, following that curve, letting the brush do the work for me to be able to taper out the flame at the point. And then I'm going to do this lower curve, and as soon as it starts to hit the right hand side of the flame next to it, I'm going to stop. Okay, again I'm going to work on the main flame now, on the left hand side of this flame, letting my brush do the work, taking it up into the curve and taper it out, and then bringing this section down into the curve, and then again, as soon as it starts to hit the right hand side of this flame, we need to stop. You almost want to taper it out to nothing, okay? And then again, I'm going to work on the last flame, so we don't need to worry too much, because this would have gone into the curve of the next flame if we pretend that there's a flame here. So we can just go straight off of the nail with this one. Following the curve of the flame that we've already put in and tapering it up. So you can see by using the artisans, I'm just going to finish that off of the nail. By using the artisans, I've done all that work on these flames over here, but you can see that the original black line that I put in has stayed exactly where I wanted it to be. If we were using a normal gel polish, that wouldn't have happened. So I'm going to pop that into the lamp for a full cure. For the artisans, it's 60 seconds, and I'm going to take out my neon green flame. Now what I want to do with this one is create a difference between the background and the flame. So I'm actually going to make the flame shiny, and I'm going to leave the background matte. So I've already decanted a little bit of my No Wipe Shiny Top Coat onto my palette, and I'm going to use my Phantom brush, and I'm going to start in the belly of the flame. And then I'm just going to taper that up, covering the pigments. So this is sealing the pigments in. And then bringing that down. Okay, again tapering it up into the point of that flame. And you need to be careful not to go over the line, because we want to create that difference between our flames and our background. So now I'm just going to taper that right down to the tip of the nail. Then do this one, so starting in the belly of the flame, tapering that up. Into the point of my flame. And then bringing it down. Making sure you don't forget this flame in the center. Then also this flame on the edge. And then bringing that down, making sure it's a nice even coat of gel polish, and making sure we cap that end as well. I've just got a tiny little bit here that has overlapped slightly, so I just want to get rid of that. So I've just cleaned my brush. I'm just pushing that product back in on itself into the flame, because we don't want that to be shiny, we want that area to be matte. So I'm just going to pop that in the lamp for a full cure. My 3D nail has now fully cured, and I want to matte top coat this. So I'm just going in with my Nalchemy Velvet Matte over the whole thing. That will help to give it a nice velvet matte effect, and it also helps to even out your ombre as well, and that transition between our flame join and our ombre join. So I'm just going over that again, making sure you cap the edge, and that's going to go in for a full cure. So while that's curing, I'm just going to show you the other nail that we have created in this workshop. So this is a flame nail, so if I put them both together, you can see how this could be transitioned across a whole set for your clients, and it looks really effective actually, because if you marry them up, it looks like one piece of artwork. So that has now fully cured in the lamp, and you can see the difference between our shiny and our matte background. It really makes those flames pop, and again, as a full set, it looks really effective. And our 3D nail has now fully cured, and that is the matte effect with our ombre and our 3D. So that completes this workshop. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this workshop, and if you did, please make sure you click the like button, and if you want to see any future workshops, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell. I'll see you all soon.